This is Inside Town Hall, a behind-the-scenes look at city government and the issues affecting you and your family.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. Coming up on the program, there are many changes on the horizon in the city of Sioux Falls with the election of a new mayor and 2 city councilors. Joining us today is our guest, City Councilor Teresa Staley, and we have a lot to talk about. So stick around, we'll be back in just a moment.
A sump pump can be your first line of defense against getting water in your basement.
Don't wait until it's too late to verify your sump pump is working properly. Make sure your hose discharges into your yard away from your house or into a stormwater or sump pump collection system. Never discharge into a sink, toilet, shower, or floor drain. Also, consider a backup system in case your home loses power. For more information, go to the city's website at siouxfalls.org/sump pump.
Well, there's a lot going on at City Hall these days with the election of a new mayor and 2 new city councilors. And joining me this month for Inside Town Hall is City Councilor Teresa Staley. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Madeline.
Let's get right to it. We have a lot to talk about. Let's talk about public input at the city council meetings. That's something that is near and dear to your heart.
Exactly. And before we get into that, I just have some visual aids. As a teacher, I think it's important to reinforce what you're talking about. But everything we're going to talk about, everything we do in city government, to me, comes down to citizen responsiveness. The citizens, the taxpayers, are the funding source for everything we do. So I'm hoping that we have more energy in our city government towards customer service and acknowledging the citizens. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So yes, so one of those things that we're going to be talking about is public input. And we've heard about that in the media recently. Public input has been at the beginning of the meeting. Anyone can speak for up to 5 minutes. And my first experience with this was in 2006. Councilor D. Knutson asked me to come in and speak about the Drake Springs swimming pool. I had never been to the Carnegie. I had never been in front of the mayor or the council. It was very intimidating in 2006. And she encouraged me, and I told her a few weeks ago, I thanked her for that, for bringing me in. And I think of her every time I encourage citizens to come forth and engage their council members and the mayor. So we've had this 5 minutes at the beginning of the council.
Let's talk a little bit about what the process is right now. If someone wants to come to a city council meeting,
yes,
what can they expect when they walk in the door?
Well, we're going to have the approval of the agenda, the consent agenda, and then very near the beginning, the mayor is going to invite people to come up and speak about any topic they'd like. They have to say their name. You don't have to give your address. And then there's a rule that you don't mention individual council members' names or the mayor. Now, I will say there have been times when people have come up and complimented certain individuals, and no one's ever gotten gavelled on that. But the purpose is that we don't want people to come up and trash, an individual. We want people to be respectful. Unfortunately, in recent weeks, we've had certain individuals who have behaved badly at public input. And so it's kind of created this intense scrutiny of what's happening there. Right now, I've been on the council 2 years, and I just want to say that in that 2 years, we have had people coming in to address us on rezoning. We've heard from neighbors who are going to have a storage shed unit complex across the street from them. We've heard from people who have had vicious dog bites that needed to be addressed, snowgate concerns. People addressed the loss of summer singers last year. We've had church sign issues. We've had ambulance issues. We've had park board redistricting concerns. People have come up about all sorts of things to express their concerns about what has happened. And I will tell you, Madeline, many times these people haven't been listened to. It's kind of their last resort before going to the media. And because they've spoken to the whole group at that beginning public input time, they are getting results. that's a good thing. So I ran actually 2 years ago because I wanted to protect public input. I still am very committed to it. I think it's a great thing. It's a necessity for our citizens. So moving forward, I just think we need to stress to people, they need to be respectful, and I would say don't abuse it. You know, it's for everyone to be represented at public input.
And how much time do they get for public input?
5 minutes a person.
Okay. Is there a limit on how many people can speak?
There has not been a limit. And a case in point, recently we had the Icon Lounge debate, and Councilor Rick Kiley was handling that meeting in the absence of our mayor. And I have to say bravo to Councilor Kiley because he was so respectful to people. He allowed everyone to speak. I think it went on for like an hour and 20 minutes, public input. As a result of all that dialogue, Madeline, we came up with a resolution for that, for the Icon Lounge and for the condominiums across the alleyway. So it's a very good thing, and I think people, if they're treated with respect, the whole thing, I mean, we need to treat them with respect as elected officials, and the public needs to treat us with respect. And then I think it works really, really well.
Do you think with the election of a new mayor, will this public input continue the way it is? And whose decision is that to have the public input?
Well, that's a council decision. I have had conversations with our new mayor, and he certainly, Paul Tenhagen, wants to have decorum there. He mentioned something to me about having people take their hats off when they speak. I think if you ask a veteran to remove his hat, I don't know that that's a big deal for me, you know, if someone has a hat on. And let me also say that, you know, we're talking a lot about this intensity of discussion in our community. Well, let's remember how we got to be the United States of America. It was messy. It was messy when we fought for our independence against England. And we wanted freedom of speech. People died so we could have independence, right? There were rabble-rousers, there were patriots. And so I think sometimes we want everything to be nice and neat and everybody just go along, and we have these outbursts like we had with Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, and we need to be working with everybody so that they're heard and that we find solutions for people. But shutting down public input or changing it in any way, I don't think is going to be the right move. And let me say, I'm the one sitting there listening to people. And I am not complaining. I'll sit there till midnight if I have to. That is what I signed on to when I ran for city council. And we hear from department heads, developers, special people all the time about projects. The citizens have that much time to communicate with us. I say, have at it.
If someone can't get to a city council meeting but wants to voice an opinion or a concern, how would they do that?
Well, you can certainly email your council members, and I do get a lot of emails. You can call your council members. Those are the two best ways. But I will tell you, just this week, I got calls from people who were hung up by a city councilor. They were hung up on, and another person was hung up on by a city employee. When I get those kind of calls, it breaks my heart, okay? That should not be happening in our city government. And so, and when people are pushed aside like that, that creates a hostility. It doesn't help the continuity of representation.
Is the public input portion unique to Sioux Falls, or a city the size of Sioux Falls? Do other cities our size allow citizens to come in and speak?
I believe they do, yes. And I haven't. A few years ago, we were talking about this, and they had different cities and how they handled it. And of course, the council at that time just said we're doing just fine. So some cities might have less time available to speak, but I think it's been working fine for Sioux Falls.
Okay.
So.
And you have other topics that we want to talk about. One of the things on my notes say relationships. You'd like to talk about the relationships of the city councilors among themselves, the relationship with the new mayor, Paul Tenhagen. Talk a little bit about what you're talking about with relationships.
Relationships are very important. We have relationships with each other on the council. We have relationships with the mayor and the administration. And of course, the most important relationship is that with the citizens. I met with both mayoral candidates in the midst of the campaign. and created a relationship. And I liked both of them. Paul Tenhagen has been very respectful to me, and I requested from him that we have frequent get-togethers. I'd like to have like 3 council members together and tell him what we're hearing from the community, because we are supposed to be the citizens' representatives here. So if we got to be dialoguing and saying, you know, I'm hearing this from this area and these are concerns. Potholes, by the way, are a big concern right now. I'm hearing that from people on Facebook. But he's got to be open to all different input venues from us and from the public. So I'm hoping for that. And within the relationships on the council, let me explain to the public that we have what we call the leadership, a chair and a vice chair. They're elected, and they're going to be elected in this. They will be in this month, and we elect them on the council to be our representatives, to help us do our job, to empower us on the council so that we can help the citizens. That's really what it's all about. And these people, this chair and vice chair, have a lot of power. They determine the seating arrangement on the council. People will watch the meetings. And by the way, 7 o'clock Tuesdays, tune in. More and more people are watching what's happening. But when you see where we're sitting, that isn't something we decide. We have 2 members who are elected who choose where we sit. I think that should be done in we should just draw lots for that, but that's yet to be decided. But they do that. Those chair and vice chair, they determine who's on the committees. They get to pick, you know, who they want to chair this committee and that committee. I've got a little problem with that because we're all elected and we're all equals. So we should be working to keep everything fair, and that we have a fair leadership opportunity for everyone.
When you talk about the committees, are you talking about who is the chair of a committee among the city councilors, or from the public that might be a volunteer?
No,
or both?
of the councilors.
Of the councilors.
So like we have an audit committee, which I'd like to be on. It's scrutinizing the spending, and which is important. We have public services. We have CCOG. There's just different things that that counselors will sit on, so I think that's an important thing they do. The other thing our chair and vice chair have been doing historically is they meet privately with the mayor, and so they're getting information that we don't get, and then they are passing it on to us. So to the extent that they get that to us in a timely manner, really will affect our knowledge of what's coming down the pike. So again, there's kind of a talk within the new council members that maybe we all should be meeting with the mayor. We should all be hearing this stuff up at the same time so that we're all treated as equals moving forward. And I think that's what the citizens want too. They do not want a hierarchy of certain people having certain privileges. And one of the things I'm saying, I've been on the council 2 years, I see special deals for special people. And not only, I see secret special deals for special people. Our citizens don't want that. And I believe what we saw in this last mayor's race reinforces that people want things out in the open, they want everyone treated fairly, and they want us as council members to have the information in a timely manner and to be told all the details. And I'm going to continue to push for that, for the sake of our people, our citizens.
Okay. Well, we have a lot more to talk about coming up on the program. We're going to talk about Project Trim. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Young from Falls Community Health, here to talk to you about laundry detergent toxicity. The American Association of Poison Control Centers has issued an alert on teens intentionally ingesting laundry pods, a practice widely shared on social media. We cannot stress enough how dangerous this is to the health of individuals. It can lead to seizure, fluid in the lungs, it can cause you to stop breathing, go into a coma, or even death. If you have any questions, please contact the Poison Control Center, Falls Community Health, or your physician.
Well, welcome back to Inside Town Hall, where we are visiting with City Councilor Teresa Staley. We are going to talk about Project Trim, and that has to do with trees, of course, when we're talking about trimming trees. Explain to us what that project is about.
Well, several years ago, the city came up with Project Trim, and what that is an area in our community is designated under Project Trim, the city sends out their crews to measure the height of the branches on the street. There's also a requirement on the sidewalk as well. I don't think they're not getting on the sidewalk, but they're eyeballing it. So they drive around this area, then they will say, well, we're going to send out letters. They send a letter out. It's hit my neighborhood 3 times.
So some of the guidelines, I'm just going to check my notes. So they send out a crew, they have a survey process.
Yes.
They have an aerial lift truck. They go out and they measure to see if the branches are 10 feet over the public sidewalk, and if the branches touch the truck, they have to be trimmed back. And that is, if I understand correctly, that's the responsibility of the homeowner.
They have put that onto the homeowner. That is correct. And so you get a letter and it says you have to trim it. The problem I have, well, there's several problems, but they will not identify which tree it is on your boulevard. And they send a list of arborists that you can hire to do it. If you don't get this up to their standards, then they send someone out and it costs a minimum of $150. So people feel like there's a lack of definition of what needs to be done, and it's very costly. So I've called other communities. I talked with the arborist in Aberdeen this last week, and they have a great forestry department and an energy that takes care of their own trees. And they actually they're trying to get a canopy of trees. We used to have that in Sioux Falls, where it was just a beautiful thing, a visualization thing, encouraging people to plant trees. But in a lot of these communities, Fargo, Brookings, Aberdeen, they don't let citizens touch trees. Even Brandon, they take care of their own trees. The city does that. So I understand that takes more of a cost factor. But I think it's about priorities in our community as well. And I will tell you that we bought a snowcat groomer for $300,000 for Great Bear. $300,000 is going to cover a lot of tree trimming. So I think we can make this work if we want to. However, I also, in trying to find solutions, I have met with the warden, Darren Young, and of our penitentiary. And this wonderful young man who cares deeply about these men who are incarcerated gave me such a wonderful experience in my interview with him. And he got peer on the line of the people who handle the work release program. And
So this is the South Dakota Department of Corrections.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they have a workforce that would be able to come out and help with this. That same workforce was doing our Scoop It program, so they've already been utilized by our citizens. They were shoveling sidewalks for people. So these are men who are on the verge of being put back into the community anyway. So any experience they get is really going to be a win-win for them and for us. So having them, utilizing that workforce to help with this would be a really neat thing.
Are you saying that these inmates have been vetted and that they are trustees, I guess is what people usually call them?
And they need to, he was saying, they could help with painting park benches, mowing lawns in the parks. They could do custodial work. I certainly don't want to take away any job opportunities from people that are doing that employed right now. But I know last year we were talking about budget cuts in the park department, and we were cutting back on mowing some of these parks. So, wow, why can't we be looking at that and finding ways to help these men and from the penitentiary, these work release men, and also help our community.
Have they not been doing this previously? Were they not using?
No, just for the Scoop It program in recent history, as far as what that was told by them. And they are helping the county, and they help the furniture mission. It has to be a nonprofit venue for them to be utilized.
Is there a cost associated
with them? They get paid $1.25 an hour.
And then would the city pay that?
If we use Project Trim, then the city is going to pay that, yes. But it's just another way of helping our citizens out, that it could make this work. So I think that would be a really wonderful thing.
With this idea, how do you move this forward? What's your next
Well,
step? on
I've
this?
already discussed this with our mayor, so I think that it's going to be getting the word out there. And again, as we have these communications and get-togethers with the mayor, and he's listening to us, I'll certainly be bringing this up. And I talk to this with citizens any chance I have. This is the second time I've been on your show talking about it, and I will continue to talk about it.
Okay. And then we have some beautiful flowers here from your garden.
Yes!
Let's talk about the Boulevard Gardening Ordinance. It used to be that you could not plant in your boulevard. That has changed.
That's right. Of course, it was illegal to have anything more than, I think, 8 inches tall in the boulevard. And that now has changed. And this is a bouquet out of my yard. And I want you to smell that hyacinth there.
Oh, yeah.
These are all bulbs, by the way. You need to plant these in the fall. If you're interested in spring tulips, hyacinths, daffodils, you plant those in the fall.
They smell like lilacs.
They really do, and they almost look like it. And their lilacs are going to be in full regalia this month. But we passed this ordinance, and it is encouraging people to plant things besides the grass on the boulevard. You can have it up to 36 inches tall, nothing with thorns, and you can have vegetables and perennials. The city has a nice little brochure that you could get. I didn't bring one today, but they have a pretty brochure that has some of the suggested plantings. And I will tell you, I've been planting on the boulevard for many years. It was illegal, of course, but I got permission early on from Dave Muntz, our mayor, and Steve Metley. However, I found that I've got all sorts of stuff on my boulevard, and you're welcome to come by. I'm still cleaning the yard up, but I'm at 24th and Van Epps, lots of flowers. And these things have endured sand and gravel and the snow plows going over the top of them, and they come back. I have peonies, sedum,
A lot of perennials.
phlox, yeah, all sorts of stuff, and bulbs. So lilies, it's really wonderful. And it's also environmentally beneficial because this gardening thing catches the rainwater as it comes off and keeps it from going into the stormwater system. So that's we're seeing more of that awareness of rain gardens and just being environmentally friendly. And I'm also an organic gardener, which means I don't use chemicals. I use compost and I use horse manure that's been well aged. And my plants are huge because I've fed the root system. Just like our bodies, you eat good food, you're going to be more healthy than if you just pop a few vitamins. So we do that with our soil, and I think there's more of a movement to be environmentally friendly, you know.
Do you plant primarily flowers, or do you do vegetables as well?
I always try to throw a few tomato plants in there, but mostly for me it's flowers. And I do a lot of cut flowers. I give a lot of flowers away to people. I believe we're called to share what we've been given, whether it's financial prosperity or beautiful flowers. You know, let's be generous with one another and care for one another, which is a neighborhood friendliness. We haven't even touched on that, but I'm hoping with our new mayor and our council members, we can create a community that really loves each other. You know, we've got beautiful buildings, we've done a lot of investing in physical structures, but the people are really what's important here. It's our people, and so that's where my heart is with helping others, and that's what I want to do.
And we have a few minutes left, and you want to talk about how folks can get a hold of you, how they can contact you, and how you communicate with the citizens of Sioux Falls.
And I'm passionate about reaching out to people. I have put out a few of these, the Staley Report. I have some extras on hand. But again, letting people know what's going on. People love this because so many people are not informed about what's going on in our community.
How many of these do you distribute?
I sent 10,000 out. Okay. Of my own money. It was very expensive. there was my city council salary went to the Staley Report. But I've been to the Benson Flea Market. I go every year. I have Facebook. I do a lot of things. Friend me on Facebook. Come to my Facebook page. I try to put news stories up. I put on things that are coming in with the city council to try to inform people. I even had one lady say she gets her news from my Facebook page, which I thought was a little scary. But you know, I mean, I'm just working for ways to help people be connected. And I think I talk to the media a lot. I'm always trying to be open with the media. And our new mayor, Paul Tenhagen, to his credit, has committed to having a roundtable with the media, to be open, to be saying this is what's happening. I think people are hungry for that. So I'm excited about that. Been to the Hy-Vees. I always encourage people to email me, to call me, and I think we all need to be doing that as council members elected.
Are you saying that we will see more transparency, you think, as the city continues to grow and in the future?
I really believe that's going to be coming. Yes, that was one of the big topics in this last campaign. And I think we're going to be seeing more of an effort to make that happen. And we're a growing city, 180,000+ people. We need to be changing the way we view outreach with our citizens. And again, public input is really an important part of that. But we have to be really working to get out there, or else we get cut off and just kind of insulated in a little womb of a cocoon of governmental speak. And hearing from the people is so important because it's about the people.
We only have a couple of seconds left, so tell us, how can people get a hold of you if they have questions or concerns or just want to read your reports?
And you can email me, and that's on the city's website, tstaley@siouxfalls.org. My phone number is out there as well. Call me. I always return phone calls. And you can also come to my Facebook page at Teresa Staley, and it's public, open, and I share all sorts of things on there.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to get a hold of any of the city councilors, you can reach them at siouxfalls.org. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next month.